Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, both here at Pacifico Yokohama and online, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. It is my great honor to welcome you to this TICAD official side event hosted by the Sasakawa Africa Association in collaboration with Japan International Research Center for Agricultural Science and Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa. We are gathered under the theme, Transforming African Food Systems Through Regenerative Agriculture, Strategies, Policies, and Alliances to Empower Youth and Farmers. My name is Ethiopia Tadessa. I am the Head of Communication and Advocacy at the Sasakawa Africa Association, and I will serve as your Master of Ceremony today. Before we begin, a few housekeeping notes. Kindly ensure that your mobile phones are switched off or set to silent mode. This event will be conducted in English with simultaneous interpretation available in Japanese, Channel 1, Japanese, Channel 2, English. Please remember to leave your interpretation receiver on your seat at the end of the event. Now, to formally open this event, to the side event, I now invite the Chair of Sasakawa Africa Association, Dr. Amit Roy, to deliver the welcoming remarks. Dr. Roy.
Good morning to all of you. Welcome. Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, Your Excellency Shinjiro Koizumi, Mr. Yoe Sasakawa, Honorary Chairman of the Nippon Foundation, distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, and friends. It is my honor and pleasure to welcome each of you to the side event of the 9th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, TICAD9, where we gather under the bold vision of building resilient and inclusive food systems through regenerative agriculture to support youth and farmers. Today, as we stand here, it is a very pivotal moment for African agriculture and its future. As the continent strives not only for greater productivity, but for sustainability, inclusivity, and resilience, we recognize that the health of the soil is the very foundation on which all progress depends. Healthy soils are more than an environmental asset, they are our assurance of food security and economic opportunity. Yet soil degradation, climate change, and demographic pressure threaten this foundation. The solution lies in collaboration, innovation, and commitment, qualities that unite us today. This event brings together a very dynamic coalition of partners. The Sasakawa Africa Association, the Japan International Research Center for Agricultural Sciences, JIRCAS, and the Forum for Agriculture Research in Africa, FARA. Each organization brings a wealth of knowledge and experience and passion to this event, which are geared for empowering the farmers throughout the continent. For many in Japan, this is the opportunity to hear directly some of the soil's issues, particularly the Soil Initiative for Africa. As the organizer, I welcome leading figures at the forefront of SIA implementing today. You will hear from this institution and individual who are driving this transformation and strengthening the Japan-Africa partnership. The Soil Initiative for Africa represents a continent-wide commitment to restoring soil fertility and to position young Africans as leaders for change. the momentum for the Africa Fertilizer and Soil Health Summit, which was held last year in Nairobi, Kenya, and the Nairobi Declaration, which came out of it, and the African Soil Health Action Plan, all testifies to the dedication for driving this initiative. As the co-lead of the Extension Advisory Services and Human Capacity Development, SIA and SAA works with partnership to strengthen the smallholder capacity and extension system. Ladies and gentlemen, we are also privileged to showcase the fruitful partnership between Japan and African nations. Through projects such as TERA Africa, supported by the Nippon Foundation and implemented by JIRCAS, and the leadership of SAA, together with the African Forum for Agricultural Advisory Services, AFAS, we are seeking the transformative power of knowledge exchange and capacity building through training of the future agriculturists and extension services. Our shared journey is more than improving yields or fighting erosion. It is about unlocking the value in the agri-food sector, igniting the youth, creating the opportunity for the future leader and entrepreneurs in the continent. Together, we have the opportunity to turn challenges into opportunities and convert that into actions, to share the solutions that work, and to ensure that Africa's food system are not only resilient, but truly inclusive. Thank you for your commitment, your presence, and your vision. Let us embark on this dialogue with open minds and open hearts, eager to learn, share, and act. May our collective efforts today lay new foundation for prosperity and sustainability for Africa and for the rest of the world. With that, I welcome all of you to this symposium. I'm very glad you are here, and let us build the future together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Roy, for setting the stage with those thoughtful remarks. It is now my distinct honor to welcome His Excellency, Mr. Shinjiro Kozumi, Minister of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries of Japan, to deliver his opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our distinguished guest.
おはようございます。Good morning. 今日はこの記念すべき、笹川アフリカ財団の、サイドイベントにお招きをいただきまして、本当に今日はありがとうございます。多分同時通訳のヘッドセットがまだ追いついてない方がいるので、ちょっと一回待ちましょうか。Are you ready? OK? 本題のご挨拶に入る前に、ロイさん、大変心温まる、ご挨拶をありがとうございました。そして会場にいらっしゃるアフリカからの、ゲストの皆さんにおかれましては、この横浜の町にいると農業の香りはしないなと、都会だなと思われるかもしれませんが、そんなことはありません。私はこの横浜もある神奈川県の出身で、横浜の農業を多く知っています。そして私が生まれたのはこの横浜の隣の横須賀という町です。その横須賀という町はキャベツと大根が有名で、そしてスイカ、メロン、みかん、お芋、そして今ではブルーベリー、さまざまな、農業の豊かな土地に囲まれた中で、しかも海のある町で私は生まれ育ちました。ですから今日このようにアフリカの皆さんと、そして日本の農家の皆さん、また農業関係者の皆さんが集う場で、お互いの学びを、一つにつなげて未来に向かって、お互いの価値を高め合うことができる機会を、大変嬉しく思いますし、私としてもこの TICAD を通じてアフリカの皆さんとの、出会いをいただいたことを心から嬉しく思います。特に 昨夜は石破総理、ご夫妻が主催の晩餐会に出席をいたしました。私のテーブルには、ザンビアの副大統領、ガンビアの副大統領、モザンビークの大統領、エジプトの首相、多くの、あとウガンダの副大統領もいらっしゃいました。そういった皆さんとお話をしていても、私はアフリカで日本のつながりを多く、生まれていることを心強く思いました。エジプトでは今、寿司レストランが増えていると聞きました。私がエジプトの首相に、エジプトの寿司レストランの名前は何ですかって聞いたら、首相はその場で携帯を出して、レストランの名前なんだっけってすぐ確認をしてくれました。そして私の隣の、ガンビアの副大統領とモザンビークの大統領に、私は今日本で特にお米の問題に注力をしているんだっていう話から日本のお米の話題になりましたけども、その時に日本のお米はどう思いますかって言ったら、日本のお米を好きだと、美味しいと思うと、そういう、感想も伺うことができて、これから、いつか私もアフリカにお伺いをして直接アフリカの農業現場を見せていただくことも、またいつかの機会に楽しみにしたいと思います。そして今日は特に、会場に最高執行責任者のイシュマハン・エルラフィー様、はじめとしてアフリカの農業関係者の皆さんがいらっしゃいますが、この日本に横浜に、来ていただいたことを改めて心から歓迎をしたいと思います。特にエルラフィーさんについては、私の友人もエルラフィーさんとつながっていて、必ずエルラフィーさんと会ってくれと、こういったことを言われていましたので、今日その約束を果たすことができたことも改めて嬉しく思いますし、筑波に留学をされた経験のある、エルラフィーさんが、この日本とアフリカの接点と架け橋となってくださっていることも、私からすると心強く思います。そして何よりも今日は笹川さんがいらっしゃいます。39年前、笹川良一氏がカーター元アメリカ大統領、そしてボーローグ博士に働きかけて笹川アフリカ財団が設立されました。以来、日本財団の助成によりアフリカの小規模農家支援を継続していることに改めて敬意を表したいと思います。農林水産省としては、新品種や技術の開発、普及などを通じて農業生産性の向上や気候変動対応を支援すること、また知識や経験豊富な職員の派遣という形でも貢献をしています。我々の持つ知識、経験、技術を通じてアフリカ農林水産業の持続可能な開発と経済成長に引き続き貢献していきたいと考えています。アフリカはより安定した社会を作るため、自国での農業生産を増やし、食料の輸入への依存を下げることが課題と聞いています。アフリカの若者が未来に希望を持てるように、農業や食品関連産業を発展させ、経済的な安定を確保することが重要です。持続可能な農業のために何をすべきか、このイベントでの議論に期待を申し上げて、私からのご挨拶に変えさせていただきます。本日はおめでとうございます。ありがとうございました。
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for expressing Japan's continued commitment to African development and agricultural innovation. We will now take a brief moment for group photo. May I kindly request all distinguished guest speakers to come forward, please. thank you very much. Due to prior commitment, the Honorable Minister will now take his leave. Your Excellency, we are truly grateful for your continued support and engagement in advancing agricultural development across Africa. Thank you so much. Thank you. We now proceed to our keynote address. Please join me in warmly welcoming Dr. Ismahani Elov, Executive Managing Director of CGIAR, who will speak on science-based regenerative agriculture, enhancing resilience and productivity in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ohayo gozaimasu. And I hope everybody understood what Ohayo gozaimasu, and we're gonna go back home with few Japanese words. So, Your Excellency, Mr. Yuhei Sasakawa, Honorary Chairman of Nippon Foundation, dear colleague, Dr. Amit Roy, friend and colleague, Chair of Sasakawa Agriculture Association. We have started with a great start, with two great speeches that are inspirational. So let me start my keynote by first thanking the three organizations that are organizing: Sasakawa Agriculture Association, JIRCAS, and FARA, and thank you for the opportunity to be with you today. So I think when we talk about soil and soil health, it's a fundamental need if we are talking about prosperity and agriculture and sustainability. And the only way to do it is really to get the knowledge right, to know what we are doing, to have a good monitoring, and have a global partnership around it. So soil health is very important, it's primordial, and we can only get to scale up in innovative soil management solution through proper management, proper knowledge, proper engagement of all stakeholders, particularly small-scale producers. Let me go to the next slide. So definitely we are talking about agriculture in Africa, and particularly on the soil management per se and soil health and regenerative methodologies. But before that, let me just give you a little bit of where we are right now. Where do we stand in terms of global food security status? In 2024, data shows yet again that we have 720 million people that are still hungry. And the projection is that if we continue this path, we will still have about 400 by 2050. The number says as well, and the data from FAO says that by 2050, we need to produce more. So it's not only about quality, but also about quantity. So we need to produce about 60% more. Not the same everywhere. It's not 60% in Japan, 60% in Uganda, and 60% in US. It's different percentage in different countries. And where we need to produce more, it's definitely Africa. And also the number says that by 2050, we will have about 2.5 billion people in the African continent, the majority of them gonna be below 30 years. So, and that's where it's very important that we focus when we talk about global food security, looking in the long term, 2050 and beyond. Africa is a must-have corner in all our strategies, because that's where we have still arable land. We have 60% of the world remaining arable land in Africa, and that's where we're gonna have the human resources and the youth and the people that we need to work in the agriculture sector. But all of this cannot happen without science. And let me just remind us all that over the last 400 years, all developments that happened were based on science. It wasn't based on trade alone or on different things. It was about science. Science and scaling through private sector and through the right partnership. So CGR is the largest publicly funded international agricultural research. We are in about 90 countries. We have about 10,000 scientists. And we work mostly to translate research into scalable, high-impact innovations that directly benefit farmers. So our focus, it's definitely the 500 million small-scale farmers that are across the globe, but particularly in Africa, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and MENA region. We work with about 4,000 institutional partners that include government, private sector, NGOs, and farmers themselves. So on improving soil, we are working toward a future where soil health is protected and enhanced. Sustainable practices like minimum tillage, like crop rotation, like organic matter use, and cover cropping are all very important. These practices support biodiversity, they boost carbon sequestration, and they help mitigate climate change while also help adapting to climate change. Around the world, we have 9.5 million farmers that use CGR-supported practices for improved soil health over the last 2 years only. The numbers come from the last 2 year studies. With our new portfolio that covers 2025 to 2030, where we have a full program on what we call sustainable agriculture, including the soil health, our new ambition is to save 50 million hectares of land from cropland expansion. So basically what the call is for us to increase productivity per unit of land, per unit of input, per unit of water, without expanding new land. And basically that's what happens in the high-income countries in the last 30 years. So let me move on. We have a community-led approach that empowers farmers to work together to solve challenges and introduce climate-smart innovation that build resilience for everyone. How does it work? It's a vibrant, real-life laboratory that bundles of tailor-made strategies that might include innovation like drip irrigation, climate-resilient crop, agroforestry, renewable energy, fertilizer. The idea, it's a bundle. It's not one single bullet, it's not one single innovation, it's a number of innovation, and the way you work with the farmers and the way the farmers, as SSA say, walking with the farmers, the way you bring them in from the design to the development to the implementation. So plant breeding is definitely a driving large-scale adoption of innovation that protects smallholder farmers from intensifying weather extreme, from pest outbreaks, while also leading to better diet and nutrition outcomes. So breeding, it's a cornerstone as well, but that breeding should be combined with other agricultural practices that are also very important. On the breeding side, we are really very interested and very proud to push further with the low and ultra-low glycemic index in rice, both through IRI here in Asia, but also Africa rice in Africa. Iron biofortified beans using Harvest Plus models to really make sure that we continue mainstreaming and intensifying the biofortification, be it with iron, be it with zinc, be it with vitamin A, but also looking for new methodologies of gene breeding to speed up the impact. Our impact in numbers between 22 and 24, 3 years cycle, we CGR supported innovation by more than 6 million farmers across Africa. In the same period, CGR research informed 2.5 billion in third-party investment in Africa, including African Development Bank. And between 2016 and 2020, CGR crop technology used on 38.6 million hectares in sub-Saharan Africa and has generated about 17 billion per year, and much more. So given that I am running out of time, let me just end by an urgent need for funding call. We can't do this without funding. We know that there is a bottleneck in terms of funding. with the latest development and the geopolitical situation and the decrease in the ODA, it's even more important than ever to get the funding going to research for development and also scaling for impact, both sides. And that's where the call is really to come together, partner more closely, but also the call for, in TICAD particularly, for Japan to step in and invest really in agriculture science and scaling for impact, both of them, but also African country to make sure that they invest in their own system and they invest in bringing science forward as a solution, because I don't think we can increase productivity and protect environment unless we use the best science, the best technologies, the best innovation, and we bring private sector to make sure we are able to scale it at the level that we need. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eloafi, for the powerful and evidence-based message on building resilience in African agriculture. Our next address focuses on building capacity for soil health in Africa. Please welcome Dr. David Nilsson, Senior Advisor at the North America Agriculture Advisory Network and former lead agriculture economist at the World Bank Group. Dr. Nilsson, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's really a great honor to have the chance to participate in this meeting and speak after several great speakers. I was eating breakfast this morning and I was protecting my tie. So thank you for the initial speakers. I think you've really set the tone for a good discussion. I'm the son of a farmer, a smallholder farmer in the United States. I'm a former economist. I was the lead economist, agriculture economist at the World Bank for 30 years, working a lot with Africa. And now I'm working as a partner with some of the African institutions in thinking about how the things they should be doing to make progress in African agriculture going forward. So I've been asked to talk about a little bit about African agriculture to set the stage, and then two of the important initiatives that they are developing and implementing across the continent. Those two things are soil health and human capital. Just quickly, maybe I'm repeating a little bit what we heard earlier, but Africa's most important sector, economic sector, is agriculture. Agriculture represents 1/3 of the African economy. That's a hugely, by far the most important sector. The farm population in Africa is 2/3 of the entire population. So we're talking about an extremely important sector in the continent. Agriculture GDP for Africa is roughly $660 annually per farm person. That's less than $2 a day, and that's 100 million farms with about 6 people on each farm on average. So we're talking about a very, very low level of income coming from agriculture for a very large number of people. Productivity in African agriculture is a problem. I'm an economist, and it's painful for me to pass over these slides of graphs, but I'm going to do that because of the time constraints and just summarize what they would tell us if we looked at them more closely. There is growth in African agriculture, almost 3% per year, but it starts from an extremely low level, hence the $2 per person, and it's driven by big increases in inputs and land use. So unlike any of the other continents, almost all of the growth is coming from the input and land and more labor, not from productivity. All the other continents have at least half or more of the growth in agriculture coming from productivity gains, partly thanks to CGIAR. So this situation in Africa is not sustainable. It's not sustainable economically at $2 per person per day. It's not as the previous speaker mentioned, it's not sustainable environmentally, it's not sustainable socially. So these two fundamental elements of agriculture and of agriculture productivity are in critical deficit in Africa. These two things are soil health and human capital. These fundamental elements of African agriculture are in critical deficit. Other elements are important: water, genetic material, air, but they are not as critically deficient as soil and human capital. And these are two topics which the African institutions, the leaders, the political leaders, the African institutions are wanting to take on directly: soil health and human capital. Starting with soil health, incidence of land degradation in sub-Saharan Africa is depicted in this map. The red shows where soil health is a problem, and it pops up everywhere across the continent. Almost half of Africa's land is degraded. 80% of cultivated area is degraded in terms of soil health. 30 to 60 kilograms of nutrients per hectare lost per year. 500 million people are affected directly by that situation, and many more indirectly, including those of us on other continents. That, for Africa, that represents a loss of $190 billion per year in farm income loss because of the low level of soil health all over the continent. The consequences of that are loss of agriculture productivity, but also loss of agriculture GDP. It's estimated by IFPRI that 5% of agriculture GDP is lost because of this soil situation. Economy-wide, that means 1.5% of Africa's entire economy is lost per year. And think of how that happens over a course of many years, what a big difference that is. Water capture and quality are in danger because of the soil situation. Adaptation and mitigation to climate change also affected. So those are problems associated with the soil health situation, but additional problems are the lack of food insecurity, natural resource degradation, poverty, instability, migration, natural disasters. Why this decline in soil health? There's a lot of science that exists in the world to take that on. There are many institutions in Africa that can take that on. And there are good examples of progress and success. The Sasakawa supported programs are among those examples, but they have so far been small scale and have failed to really go to scale and affect most of the farm population. Building blocks exist, but still it's escaped all of us, including my old institution, the World Bank, to know how to really make it happen at scale, all of the good examples that we have. Recognizing this, the Africa Union has initiated the development of a soil initiative for Africa, and the summit which launched it was in 2024 in Nairobi, and I think our colleague, Mr. Fatumbi, Dr. Fatumbi, is going to say more about the soil initiative. But I'm going to say just the following, that it tackles a very important issue in Africa. It's a model for African leaders and experts in Africa in the development of an African system to take on that problem and to make a difference on that problem. It's not been dependent on external institutions or partners solely, like the World Bank, to decide how should that problem be dealt with. It's been handled by African leaders and African experts. And it is developing a system to go to scale, which has really been a handicap. That soil initiative was launched last year. It's a 40-year time horizon, and it needs external support. It has some external support from institutions like the Sasakawa Foundation and others. Thank you. I said that two of the critical elements for the foundational elements in agriculture are in critical deficit. The first was the soil health. The second is human capital in African agriculture. And I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to spend as much time on that, but I think the initiative that's been developed for soil health, and which the next speaker will talk about in more detail, the same kind of initiative needs to be developed for human capital, this second critical element for success in African agriculture. I'm going to, without going further into this Human Capital Initiative for African Agriculture. I'm just going to put on the screen several background documents which, if you're interested in learning a little more about these initiatives, these are great places to start. And I've put my email address there where you can directly contact me if you want copies of those documents. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nilsson, for your insights on investing in human capital for long-term soil and ecosystem health. Our next speaker will address the Soil Initiative for Africa, a vital continental strategy for sustainable agriculture. Please welcome Dr. Wale Fatumbi, Director of Research and Innovation at FARA. Thank you.
Excellencies and distinguished scientists, ladies and gentlemen, I will use a lot of graphics because of time, and I will attempt not to repeat what is being said. But it is important to bring the problem of soil in Africa to context. A number of statements made by Dr. Eluafi and David Nelson has given sufficient background. But to put it in context, we need to know that the problem of soil degradation is fundamental to agricultural productivity. If we have strong breeds, we have best agronomy, we have investment flowing in, engagement, and all those things. When our primary production asset is not in optimal condition, all of these things will still fall flat. And we realize that this is the key problem in Africa. David Nelson mentioned that 65% of the existing arable land in Africa are at different level of degradation. I'd just like to use this to illustrate the problem context and how the different issues speaks to one another. Now, Africa has come of age, and now in Africa, we have political will that is unprecedented. African leaders are ready to invest, to put their saving, and to provide the political support for us to address this problem. And this is what led to the development of the Soil Initiative for Africa. And the vision of this initiative is to reverse land degradation in Africa, where possibly with the use of fertilizer. And when I use the word fertilizer, it's a compound word that refers to both organic fertilizer and mineral fertilizer that we are more familiar with. We anticipate that if we are able to resolve this problem, the big problem of productivity will be reduced to the barest minimum, and economics, the livelihood of the smallholder farmer, will increase on the continent. And so African Union in the last 6 years working with all stakeholders in Africa, including the CGIAR centers, organizations like AGRA, IFDC, ISTRIC. I don't want to mention, I can't even mention our name, more than 64 organizations come together under the leadership of FARA to develop the Soil Initiative for Africa. 4 strong pillars are in this initiative: to optimize integrated soil health and water management planning on the continent, to build human, institutional, and social capital. And David made a big mention of that, to optimize data and information for effective planning and management of the soil. Around this, we think strongly of putting soil information in the hand of the farmers to inform decision making. And the 4th one is to ensure enabling policy, legal, and regulatory framework. I'd like to just show this. I promise that I will use illustrations to show the theory of change for Soil Initiative for Africa. It is developed to cover Agenda 2063 of the African Union. And so we are looking at a 40-year span. If you understand the soil issue, you know that it is not something that can happen overnight. And so we're looking at that. But this has been broken into 10 years in 4 tranches, and with specific things we want to achieve. These 10 years tranches is fitted into an instrument called African Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan. And just like other people said, in May 2024, African president gathered in Nairobi to approve this instrument, the Soil Initiative for Africa, the African Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan. And you know, this is just to ensure that we stop degradation and we improve soil fertility. I'd like to bring to your attention, distinguished audience, the essentials of the declaration that was given last year and a few things we need to do quickly. We need to triple domestic production and distribution of certified quality organic and mineral fertilizer, and that is important. We need to make available by 2034 agronomic recommendation for specific crop and soil. And I think this resonates very well with the work Sasakawa Africa Association has been doing on the continent, the work that the AFAS is doing, and AGRA and many other organizations on the continent. It speaks to extension and advisory services strongly. We were given one challenge, which is very big in 10 years, to reverse land degradation and restore soil health on 30% of the degraded land in Africa. This is a huge challenge, but we are equal to the task, taking the bull by the horn. There are a few other things that we need to do that speaks around soil information, developing national capacities, and bringing science to bear to deliver the vision of Soil Initiative for Africa. Let me say that the Soil Initiative for Africa is the long-term framework, as I mentioned, and the action plan is the 10 years phased implementation of this agenda. Now, we have a strong implementation framework, and there are principles that guide this implementation framework. Multi-stakeholder partnerships, emphasis on scaling existing technology, of course, generating new one, emphasis on human and institutional capacity, especially the capacity of the soil users to innovate. Then the issue of communication and awareness is very principal. Issues of mutual accountability, pulling together and delivering together. And we're not changing the existing reporting monitoring and reporting framework. We are not thinking of creating new organization because of this, but existing organization working together in a more coherent manner. I just want to use this briefly to show that the existing instrument in Africa is there. Organizations are already coming together, and effort is going on smartly to deliver it. Before I say thank you, finally, I want to say that when you look at the declaration of the president and the call to action, the need for extension and advisory services covers all. While the scientists will generate technology, the extension ensures that the technology delivers. And that is why we put all our effort and our time into participating in this, to show our appreciation, number one, to the Sasakawa group for supporting the Coalition for Extension and Advisory Services, and also to get the globe to know that Africa is moving in this direction to deliver its own future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fatumbe, for highlighting the strategic direction of Africa's soil agenda. We now shift focus on empowering youth and women in sustainable farmer-led agriculture. Please welcome Ms. Elizabeth Nisi Madala, President of the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation. Elizabeth, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Ethiopia, from Ethiopia. Distinguished Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me stand on the existing protocols already established. With deep gratitude, allow me, first of all, appreciate Sasakawa Africa Association for inviting me on behalf of the farmers to come and represent their voices in this very important side event. I must say that you don't only work with the farmers, but the farmers are part of your DNA. Thank you very much for walking the journey with us. When I was invited to speak about this thematic area on empowering youth and women for farmer-led sustainable agriculture, I looked at the different organizations that were invited for this session. And all these organizations are supporting women and youth in sustainable agriculture. And then I said, what is it that is new that I'm going to preach to the already converted, to the organizations that are already supporting youth and women? So I said that probably I need to blow my own trumpet and my organization's trumpet, so that at least you could learn one or two things that can help you to scale whatever you're doing in supporting youth and women in your own organizations. So as already introduced, my name is Elizabeth Nsimadala. I'm a coffee and banana farmer from Uganda and the president of the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation. My organization represents 25 million smallholder farmers in 10 countries of Eastern Africa. But we are also founder members of the Pan-Africa Farmers Organization and a proud former president and board member. And the organization has a footprint in 50 countries of Africa, representing over 80 million family farmers across the continent. So this scope has helped my organization to be part of all the regional, continental, and global organizations. For example, we sit on the board of AFAS, we sit on the board of FARA, we are board members of the Pan-Africa Farmers Organizations, we have formal partnerships with the regional economic communities, we work closely with the Africa Union Commission, and I know with my sister here, we are also trying to pursue a formal partnership. And what does this mean? Especially when it comes to the support to youth and women. We follow through the global processes. I mean, with the SDGs 5 and 4 on gender equality, on quality education, but also as mentioned by my colleague, Dr. Ori, the Africa Agenda 2063 that speaks about positioning youth and women at the center of food systems. And the recent CADAP Kampala Declaration, of course, which is taking on from the Malabo processes, again, which is speaking about inclusivity and making sure that youth and women take a center stage in the transformation of our African food systems. These processes, plus our internal consultations, have informed our current strategic plan 2021-2028, which is again anchored around supporting youth and women, around economic services, around policy, around institutional capacity strengthening, around climate change, but most importantly on embracing innovations, technologies, and science. And as an institution, we don't just speak, but we walk the talk. That is why Eastern Africa Farmers Federation is the only first regional farmer organization to elect a youth president at a regional level through MELT, not through affirmative action. And because of the support that I also received from the organization, because we believe that if one of us shines, the entire institution shines, we were able, or the institution was able to propel me to the highest ranks of leadership on the continent as a president of Pan-Africa Farmers Organization, but also as an Africa representative on the board of World Farmers Organization. And this helped us to be recognized by all the organizations at global level. I was able to serve on the advisory board of the UN Food System Summit, but also the +2 and +4 stock taking. Then when you look at the UN climate change processes, we were invited to sit on the COP28 presidency reference group on food systems, and we've been following through on all COP processes. Just recently, we were also participating at the SB62 in Bonn. But that came with challenges. at personal level, because I also needed to develop my personal skills to be able to level up to the different positions and responsibilities that I was given. I had to enroll back for my master's to be able to measure up to the kind of stages that I was always offered. And I think now I'm also headed to a big task, because all these boards that I'm sitting in, FARA, AFAS, and others, and also when I was looking at the speakers list, everybody is a doctor. So that is another challenge. I need to go for PhD. I wish I can get one institution from here that can sponsor me for my PhD. So having said that, what have we done at institutional level, also in terms of supporting farmers associations and cooperatives that are supporting farmers? First of all, for us, we have specific youth organizations, specific women organizations, like Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum, like Rofepaco in DRC, like Women Farmers Association of Kenya. And we support these specific gender associations to also be learning institutions for other organizations. We give catalytic support to some of the initiatives. For example, with an investment of $1 million, it was able to, in youth program in Kenya and Uganda, it was able to generate $1.7 million on return on investments. With $250 in DRC, it was able to generate an IFAD program of $60 for DRC. And with an investment of about 200,000 in Rwanda under the ART project, with support to Rwanda Youth in Agribusiness Forum, it prepared them to be able to generate more $1 million from MasterCard Foundation. So I'm really trying to show you the little investments that we can do that are catalytic to support youth and women, and most especially scaling their investments to be able to create an impact. As I conclude, I think the Honorable Minister asked us a few things or recommendations that we can do from this side event. And number one, I want to urge all of you to commit to your pronouncements. Make them realities. In most cases, we speak about big monies, but at the end, these monies cannot be seen, cannot be touched by the youth and the women. When you make these pronouncements, let them be real pronouncements. Number two, we need to scale some of the working models and initiatives by the youth and women. We need to invest beyond pilots to scaling. Most of the partners are only interested in supporting pilots. We need to move away from pilots to scaling. We need to support youth and women-led innovations. And finally, we need to put together an ideal program under the South to South cooperation. There's a lot that we can learn from Japan. You're doing well when it comes to cooperatives, and most especially the financial cooperatives. We need to learn how you've been able to incorporate the communities to be able to benefit from those financial cooperatives. Many years ago, we had an opportunity to learn from the IFICO model by the Indian Fertilizer Farmers Federation. And this helped us to put together a prototype called e-Granary, which is a digital innovation that supports our farmers for input, services, and output market. And it is doing wonders for us. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the power to transform the African agriculture food systems to be able to feed the world. There is shortage of rice here. Remember that. We need to start exporting rice. Thank you so much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Imadala, for the inspiring call to elevate youth and women as agents of change in African agriculture. Before proceeding to the next session, let the team arrange the stage. Thank you so much. We now move into a panel discussion on the role of agricultural extension in strengthening sustainable and resilient food system. Moderating this important conversation is Dr. Mel Olyuch, Strategic Partnership Director at the Sasakawa Africa Association. Joining him are Dr. Lilian Lihasi, Executive Director of AFAS, Dr. Stella Kabiri, Regenerative Agriculture Lead at Sasakawa Africa Association, Dr. Papa Siliosar, Senior Researcher, JIRCAS. Dr. Mel and the team, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Ethiopia. Honorable guests, distinguished guests and partners who are in this meeting. We are here to learn a little bit more on this specific topic on the role of agriculture extension in strengthening sustainable and resilient food systems. We've heard from our distinguished speakers, $2 a day is a typical income of an African farmer, which is just at the poverty line. At the same time, we heard from Dr. Elufi, our goal is to reduce expansion of land by 50 million hectares to be able to drive up productivity. Now, how can we do that? It's agriculture extension is a key, transferring technologies. Starting with you, Dr. Lillian. What specific reforms or innovations are needed in agricultural advisory systems to effectively support regenerative agriculture in Africa so as to help drive up productivity and reduce poverty? At the same time, could you highlight any successful partnerships you've experienced or models in agriculture extension in Africa that has been helpful in integrating regenerative agriculture principles to help drive up the productivity? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mel and the team. I am Lilian Lihasi from African Forum for Agriculture Advisory Services. AFAS is an organization that has the mandate from the African Union to convene, coordinate, and enhance performance of agriculture extension and advisory services. So this becomes so critical to us at such a time as this. We do this through knowledge sharing, lesson learning, and when we talk about AFAS, we deliver at the national level through our country FARA, which are the national bodies within the countries that convene extension and advisory service providers. And we are grateful to say that Sasakawa Africa is one of those institutions within the country FARA in the various countries that we belong. When we talk about regenerative agriculture, when we are thinking about extension, we are talking about extension being responsive, relevant, and digitally enabled. So what are we responding to? We are responding to the needs of the last mile. Many times we say we should be farmer-centered, we should put farmer at the center of our innovation. In one meeting, somebody was asking me, why should we put farmers at the center when they don't know what they need? And that's where extension comes in. We are thinking about extension being responsive. And being responsive in this season, we are moving from transfer of technology to having extension as a facilitator of change. Once extension agents, extension service becomes more of a facilitator, an enabler, then we get the change that we need. And what are we meaning when we are saying that we are facilitators of change? As extension agents, we must be retooled. We must retool the farmers. And this requires us to understand ourselves. Therefore, knowing yourself as an extensionist becomes critical. And when we are talking about extension services, we work together with others. And therefore, the skills of group development, partnerships become very critical to us as extension service provider. And besides that, facilitation, which is critical when you're talking about retooling the extension and advisory service providers. We must have facilitation skills where we are able to facilitate the change that we're expecting. Currently, we are talking about regenerative agriculture. Many of us did not learn about regenerative agriculture during our time. But as trends are changing, we are becoming responsive, and we must retool ourselves with the current technology that is happening at the moment. We are talking about digitalization. We have to be retooled as extension service providers. Therefore, as we facilitate change within the ecosystem that we are in, we are becoming more of facilitators rather than technology transfer. And as we are talking about that, we are understanding the ecosystem that we are working in, and as we work within this ecosystem, it calls for all extension service provision to have a systems way of thinking. Digitally enabled. Currently, we are talking about digitalization. Digitalization will help us in extension to enhance our reach. But when we think about enhancing our reach, what do we think about the extension service providers who are there? We cannot talk about digital enabled and forget the human capacity. Therefore, how do we integrate the human capacity plus the digital tools that are coming? I mentioned about relevance. As we are bringing in these digital tools, are they relevant to the farmer? Are they adoptable? Currently, through our ARIS partnerships, I talked about the partnership between the African Continent Organization, research, extension, education, which we call ARIS, and this we have gone ahead to partner with the 1CGR. How are we linking with one another as extensionists to ensure that we are delivering the knowledge that is expected? When we think about digital extension, we have identified that the CIMIT within the 1CGR have different technologies that are very relevant to the farmer, but these studies were done in India. So as AFAS, we are looking at this. How can we contextualize this to become relevant to the farmer in Africa? Therefore, we are engaging at different partners and different levels to ensure that as we develop or we adopt these technologies, they are responsive to the needs of the African farmer. They are responsive to the needs of the extension. And the extensionist also capacity has been built to respond to that. When we think about regenerative agriculture also, are we enhancing our extension services to ensure they are incentivized? How are our extension service provision linking to the market at the moment? We talk about the carbon market. We talk about the biodiversity products. Extension service must relate, must link, and be incentivized to ensure we are responding to this. So these are the reforms that we need at the moment. Facilitators of change. We must respond to the need of the farmer. We must be digitally enabled, and we must incentivize the extension system. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lillian. Systems-oriented approach. That's a critical. And the basic building blocks of systems-oriented approach is research and innovations. We have Dr. Sa from Japan International Research Center for Agriculture Sciences. Papa, real quick, based on JIRCAS work, what scientific innovations are proving most impactful in supporting regenerative agriculture in Africa? And how can we integrate capacity building efforts into your institution to support the effort of bringing African agriculture researchers, bring them up real quick to be able to support innovations and scaling of regenerative agriculture approaches?
Thank you very much, Dr. Mel, for giving me the floor. And it's my honor to be here today and share with you this panel discussion. And after Dr. Lillian's long speech, I thought maybe I don't have many things to add. But since this is oriented to science-based question, and I want to tell you that JIRCAS has been doing a lot in terms of improving soil fertility in Africa. When we talk about regenerative agriculture, I think the key point here is about soil degradation. And it came out in the panel, the keynote speakers, the main problem in Africa is the soil. If you want to improve the productivity, we need to focus on improving the soil fertility. But when we talk about soil fertility, we also talk about soil health. And JIRCAS, for its long history, has developed different technologies in terms of supporting the agricultural production. And one of them, maybe I cannot cite all of them, but very summarized two technologies is what we call the compost based on phosphate rock. We have discussed that maybe 2 days ago, but in Africa, the soil is very poor in major nutrients, and one of them is the phosphorus. So we have developed this compost based in phosphorus, and then the technology has shown its effectiveness in improving production, like in the same way as we have added chemical fertilizers. So by doing so, we can reduce the application of chemicals, but at the same time, you can improve production and also somehow improve the soil health. When we talk about soil health also, it's a kind of general words, but it's come with soil chemical, soil biological, but also soil physical. So we have found out that if you apply chemicals, you can improve production, but when you look at the soil biodiversity, somehow you have a kind of reduction. And if you combine like this kind of improved organic materials, you can improve the production, but you also have like a lot of soil biological properties that can sustain the production. So another one is conservation agriculture. And we have one of our colleagues who developed what we call the fallow ban system. It's a kind of technology to improve the organic matter in the soil. So apart from these technologies, we also have actually what we call the Terra Africa project, which is supported by Nippon Foundation. And in collaboration with Sasakawa Africa, we are now also trying to develop new technologies in Ghana. And the innovation here is traditionally researchers work alone, they generate technologies, but how this technology can be disseminated to farmers was always the problem. So in this, I can call it a three-party system, Japan International Agricultural Science, also Sasakawa Africa, and Nippon Foundation. We are working together where JIRCAS give the technology, and then Sasakawa Africa is in the middle to transfer this technology to the extension services. And one critical point also is you can generate technologies, but if those technologies are not economically profitable to farmers, they may not be also adopted. So we need to think of how farmers, of course, they can improve soil fertility or soil health, but also they can gain profit. In that way, we can kind of facilitate the adoption of regenerative agriculture in Africa. And you came with another point with capacity building. Of course, Japan also is working a lot. Let's say JIRCAS is working a lot in improving the capacity building in Africa through different programs. There is what we call the MAF project, which is supported by the Ministry of Agriculture every 5 years. In this collaboration, we always have researchers from the African country partner that sometimes come to Japan for like capacity building. But also when we go there, we are working together in the lab, trying also to give some equipment, give them some new technologies and so on. And we also have another program called, what we call it, President Incentive Scholarship, where every year we receive about 3 or 4 researchers from Africa, and they come to JIRCAS and stay there for 1 year. And actually we have 3 from Madagascar who are in JIRCAS. So this kind of fellowship, invitation, short training is what JIRCAS has been doing, and I think we can maintain that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Papa. So we've had, I think what you're talking about here is innovations, and innovations in agriculture extension services. So we've heard from policy aspect, from the research aspect, and let's hear from the scaling aspect. Dr. Kabiri.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mel.
How does Sasakawa Africa Association operationalize and define regenerative agriculture in the African smallholder context? And what strategies is Sasakawa Africa using that has proven to be most effective in promoting adoption of regenerative agriculture technologies?
Thank you. At Sasakawa Africa Association, we
we defined regenerative agriculture a bit differently from what it is defined in developed countries, because in many places, regenerative agriculture was basically about reducing fertilizers, reducing agro inputs, something which cannot be possible in Africa because one of the challenges of production is lack of these inputs. So, but also much as the inputs were being used, the yields were not coming to the level that we wanted them to come. And there was a serious issue about soil health and why the soil was not responding to many agricultural inputs. So at SAA, we defined RA in terms of rejuvenating the soil health and changing the mindset of the farmers by capacitating them into thinking specifically about improving soil health and how it can improve their yields and also the incomes in their pockets, while taking in charge also of the whole biodiversity and ecosystem process. So many of the ways we have managed to do regenerative agriculture, which we call it RA in SAA, and it's to build capacity specifically of the farmers. And we have very innovative farmer learning platforms that we utilize. And we work very closely with the extension system of the governments and the farmers, and really community-based facilitators who are on the ground. And this aspect has really resulted into a domino effect where, although we have very few staff on the ground, but we can cover millions of farmers on the African continent by the end of the year. And we also work closely with research. We work with the CGIR, we work with JIRCAS, we work with the national research system, and we bring proven proven technologies for soil management and soil and water management to the farmers to make this information very close to them. And one of the ways we have also managed to do this is that we utilize also digital tools, because digital tools are able to reach farmers on a wide scale. And we are one of those people that really champion a lot of digital tools when it comes to soil. And we are also participating in the Soil Initiative for Africa, and it's trying to bring these technologies to scale, because the African continent has very many farmers. Many of them have very small land holdings. They are less than 2 hectares. And each of them is doing something different. So we bring all these technologies to scale, and then we tailor these technologies into incentives and also access to markets to make sure that the farmers, what they are inputting in the soil is what they are able to deliver, and for them to continue building their soils with many of these incentives. So in SAA, regenerative agriculture is not just a theory, it is a practical survival strategy. And we operationalize RA by building simple, low-cost practices, and we also use indigenous knowledge that the farmers have been using before, because they have been practicing regenerative agriculture for generations, and we are bringing some of these technologies to scale. So we blend tradition with science, and then we also link them to these inputs, these very needed inputs like fertilizers, and to protect the soil, and also to protect the agrochemicals, to also protect the crops, so that it works all together, and we are able to build these soils into resilience. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stella. So I think the chief problem here in Africa we have is most of our land, because productivity is very low, most of the land is being used for expansion instead of intensification. And we need to reduce expansion and focus more intensification through regenerative agriculture principles. So using just 1 minute each from a policy perspective, Lillian, how can we reduce expansion of land and promote intensification through regenerative agriculture? Just 1 minute, strictly 1 minute.
Through regenerative agriculture, we were able to look at how to identify the extension approaches that are responsive to this. And under AFAS, we were able to look at the different countries and what is happening. We realized that farmer field schools, where we engage farmers in integrating their indigenous knowledge and science, is able to enhance quick adoption of regenerative agriculture practices aligned with the principles, and this helps the farmers to adopt. Rather than expand the land, they are able to deliver and produce products that are expected within the land sizes that they have. Thank you.
Papa,
Okay.
1 minute from a research perspective.
30 seconds. So I will give the example of Terra, how we approach this extension issue. Like we develop the technology, but then to reach the maximum farmers, we do what we call demonstration plot. So we bring the package and then we work together with the farmers and we, of course, in collaboration with the extension services so that when the farmers see the profit, when they see by themselves, then it is easier to adopt. This is better than just giving a kind of blanket prescription where you give them advice and then they go to do. So we work together, they see before they apply. And this is more important as long as they can see some economical profit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stella. From a scaling perspective, intensification versus expansion, we need to move more to the other end. How can we use extension and array to drive up intensification? 1 minute.
At SAA, we are driving up intensification by making sure that every drop counts, every kilogram of fertilizer counts, every inch of microbiology that has grown in the soil counts, and will result into the yield that is required for the farmers and how much of this translates to incomes in their pockets. That's how they are going to be able to invest in regenerative agriculture practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those insightful interaction and very insightful comments, very useful in trying to support our process of scaling up our regenerative agriculture principles to support African farmers to be able to drive up productivity, income, and food security. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's give a round of applause to the wonderful conversation, distinguished members of our panel. Thank you so much. I think through the keynote speakers, the special address, and the thematic presentation, as well as the just ended panel discussion, one thing clearly came out, which is no single organization can address African food system challenges. It needs collaboration, it needs partnership. I think at Sasakawa, we say our mantra is working with the farmer. As institutions working in the agricultural ecosystem, we also need to work together. The next session is all about that. Let's give the team some time to arrange the stage. We now proceed to a special moment, the signing of a memorandum of understanding between JIRCAS and FARA. May I invite to the stage Dr. Osamu Koyama, President of JIRCAS, and Dr. Agri Agumaya, Executive Director of FARA. Shall we give them a round of applause? Please have a seat. I think it will be fair to request the two leaders of the organizations to briefly share with us the vision behind this memorandum of understanding. So I will start with Dr. Komaya. Would you please tell us your vision of the memorandum of understanding that you are going to sign? Thank you. Tell us your vision, your expectation, what you'd like to achieve through this memorandum of understanding. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much for SAA for providing this precious opportunity for us to make a signature of MOU between FARA and JIRCAS. JIRCAS is conducting collaborative research in Africa, mainly with CGIAR centers and national research organizations. So that's why we know FARA is the center of agricultural research, including extensions and also private sector activities. So we are very pleased to have this occasion. We are committed through this MOU to disseminating research result we made in Africa and in other areas in Asia or Latin America, in African continent, and to I can say contribute to the soil initiative for Africa as a member of many relevant organizations struggling with soil health in Africa. Thanks to the Nippon Foundation, we conducted the Terra Africa project 2.5 years ago. We are committed to develop the technologies for soil health, especially regenerative agriculture customized for African continent. So I would like to work, I'm very happy to work with FARA, including Sasakawa Africa Association. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Koyama. Dr. Agumaya, would you please share with us your vision of this Memorandum of Understanding? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. FARA is the apex continental organization for agricultural research, and we now have research, extension, and higher education working very closely together as a consortium, and FARA is convening that partnership. So we are very happy that we are having this occasion to formalize a relationship that has been on for a long time. For 7 years, from 2009 to 2016, FARA hosted the African Liaison Office or JIRCAS. That was, we had a hosting agreement, but that relationship was more than just hosting. It was about coordinating the agendas of JIRCAS on the continent and aligning them with what FARA was doing and aligning them with the African agenda. What was different was that that relationship was not formalized. And now, today, we are formalizing it. So it's a very important milestone for a relationship that has been ongoing for a long time. The MOU brings together the strengths of FARA and JIRCAS. And on the FARA side, we are a convening body. One of our functions is to convene stakeholders within the research and innovation constituency. So that's something that JIRCAS can tap in through this MOU. We also are engaged in processes of establishing, setting priorities for the continent for research, and we see JIRCAS does a lot of research, and if that research is really aligned to what stakeholders believe are the priorities, it would add value. And there are so many others. In the interest of time, I'll just highlight those two and say that we are really excited that this MOU between JIRCAS and FARA opens a bridge, not just with research, but with the other actors in the innovation ecosystem that we work with. Thank you very much.
Thank you both for highlighting what this agreement seeks to achieve. With that, let us proceed to the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding. Shall we give them a round of applause as they are signing? Could you please stand for a picture, both of you? Thank you so much. Let's give them a round of applause again. Partnership is the way to go. Congratulations to both institutions on formalizing this strategic partnership for collaborative agricultural research and innovation. Thank you very much. To close this session, I now invite Mr. Shuichi Suzuki, President of the Sasakawa Africa Association, to deliver the concluding remarks and outline the way forward. The floor is yours.
Hey, good morning, and distinguished guests and dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. There is saying often attributed to Africa: when the roots are deep, there is no need to fear the window. Today, we have gathered here in Japan to talk about those roots, the healthy soil that give life, feed the nation, and carry the hope of stronger futures. First, allow me to express my heartfelt gratitude to all our distinguished speakers, panelists, moderator, partner, and participants, both here in person and those joining us online. Your commitment, knowledge, and idea have made this dialogue truly valuable. This gathering marks a historical milestone in Japan awareness and interest in initiatives like SIA. SIA stands for Soil Initiative for Africa, are still emerging, which makes today's dialogue especially timely. That is why it is so significant that for the very first time, frontline SIA members have shared their respective directly here in Japan. You have brought the history of Africa's soil to life, real, urgent, and full of opportunity. Let me share just one example. In northern Uganda, a group of younger extension agents, most of them women, were trained in simple soil testing technique through SAA-led program. Within 1 year, they had worked with over 500 farmers to match crops with right soil nutrient. Yield improved, income rose, and most importantly, these young people become role models in their community. Stories like this remind us that change is possible and that it begins with the soil beneath our feet. The message from today's dialogue is clear. Regenerative agriculture and soil health are not just technical topics. They are very fundamental for Africa's food security, climate resilience, and sustainable growth. And we know that this transformation must be inclusive, empowering youth and women who are not only the future African agriculture, but also its current innovation and change makers. We have strong guiding frameworks, SIA and the African Fertilizer and Soil Health Action Plan, to lead our next step. On behalf of Sasakawa Africa Association, I reaffirm our commitment to work closely with FARA, JIRCAS, national government and other stakeholders to turn those frameworks into reality, on farm, in market, and in the policy halls. As a president of Sasakawa Africa Association, I'm convinced that Japan, drawing on its own agriculture expertise, technology, and the spirits of partnership, can play even greater role in supporting Africa's soil healthy transformation. Today's dialogue has shown that Japan and Africa share a common vision: agriculture that feeds people, protects the planet, and supports livelihood. I'm also pleased that during this event, JIRCAS and FARA have formalized their collaboration by signing on MOU. Congratulations, Dr. Koyama and Dr. Agumya. JIRCAS and SAA are already advancing soil management and technology transfer, but today has shown us that there is much more we can achieve together. The conversation we had today must not stay within these walls. I call on each of you to take the knowledge, idea, solution we have discussed and put them into action, whether in shaping policy, designing a program, or helping farmers in the field. We must strengthen multi-stakeholder partnership, public, private, academic, international, to accelerate capacity building for extension system, youth engagement in agriculture innovations, scale up regenerative soil practice across Africa. We face the dual crisis of climate change and food security, but we also hold one of the most powerful solutions: healthy soil and resilient agriculture. If there is one takeaway from today, it is this: healthy soils, thriving Africa. Together, with our shared knowledge, our collective action, and strong commitment, we can build up sustainable, inclusive future for Africa agriculture. Finally, healthy soil, thriving Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suzuki. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude this official side event of TICAD9, we express our heartfelt appreciation to all who contributed to its success. The insights and commitments shared today are both timely and essential to our shared mission of building resilient, inclusive, and regenerative food systems across Africa. We hope this conversation marks the beginning or deepening of impactful collaborations across governments, institutions, farmers, and youth. On behalf of the Sasakawa Africa Association, JIRCAS, and FARA, Thank you once again for your presence and participation. We wish you a productive continuation of TICAD9 and look forward to engaging with you beyond this hall. Thank you very much. Please be reminded to leave the interpretation receivers behind. Thank you. Have a good day.